Hello, hello, hello. Let's get started. We are gonna break down the Neil battle, and I think it could be interesting. I'm not so sure we'll find anything just out there that we haven't already noticed, but I think everyone is enjoying the Neil scenes. It was really neat to see the combat, and there's obviously going to be a couple things we can look at, like weapons, and I think it's worth it. It'll give us something to do before the game drops on the 24th and the 26th. So let's break it down.
Remember, the last time was different wars, but this time it's different natural disasters. So this is representing the fire. So
Now, the fact that we are actually visually representing natural disasters is pretty neat. I like that he said this is representing fire because, yeah, the cars are on fire, but upon first glance, to me, this looks like a celebration almost. I mean, the spinning lights on the buildings, it almost looks like a festival, um, which is probably intentional since we know that Neil kind of had Day of the Dead decorations in the background. But it's neat. It's very neat. It's very beautiful. I know a lot of the previewers said that they thought it was just, a wonderful, crazy thing to walk around in. But the fact that we'll have natural disasters represented is interesting because if this is fire, and this is probably the first time we see Neil, if we are to trust kind of like the previewers have told us, this is the kind of the final battle they got to do before their access was basically revoked and they were told you can't go any farther in the game. So we have fire, but in the game, we can assume that we will also see a battle with Neil around floods, probably a battle that has to do with earthquakes, and maybe something to do with snow if we get all the natural disasters as battlegrounds for Neil. But yeah, let's move forward.
have like fireworks and things like that, but you see, it looks beautiful, but it's dangerous. And there'll be like lavas flying around, and you'll see like this ghost, we call it remains. You see some ghosts walking by as well.
That part was kind of interesting. They call it Ghost or Remains, which of course we had in Cliff's Battleground. We had the soldiers, and we never really got confirmation how alive the soldiers were. They did say that they were kind of like lost spirits and they were all in this connected, like battleground or whatever you want to call it, shared beach. So I'm wondering, are these people who've actually died in these natural disasters? He calls them remains, and I do wonder, will we interact with them at all, or will they simply disappear? Kind of like how the soldiers in the shared beach, if you did kind of run into one, nothing would really happen. There are the
So yes, the fire
fireworks.
starts to spread, and Dolman, as a psychic, will speak to you too.
So that's interesting. He says Dahlman as a psychic will speak to you too. I wonder if Dahlman will work as sort of a medium in the spirit world. Now, we were told in the trailers that, he doesn't have his powers anymore. He can't use them because he's in a doll body. But I do wonder how that translates to the other worlds, like the beach. Perhaps he does get his powers. Maybe he's able to access them when he's in this world because he says the dead are close. So it's totally possible that Dahlman's skills and talents might be usable here.
So there's this fireworks still going on, and all these lavas falling at you. Well, actually, the lava is as part of the whales, but anyways.
He says the lava is part of the whales, I think is what he says. Let's listen to that part again.
The psychic will speak to you too. So there's this fireworks still going on, and all these lavas falling at you. Well, actually, the lava is as part of the whales, but anyway.
It's a little hard for me to understand his accent. He may have said sidekick instead of psychic, and he may have said whales as in like someone crying, wailing, um, instead of whale like a fish. So it's I'm not sure what words he's meaning there. Now we do get a our first look at this area, which has me suspicious because in Neil's trailer, one of his trailers, he looks out the window and he sees these Day of the Dead decorations. Now, what makes me suspicious about this is that looked like it was an in-game cutscene of like maybe a memory or the past, but it's totally possible that that is a cutscene from one of these battles, and maybe we see it in some way somehow, because he could just be looking out the window at this area, because in that frame you also see fire. Then again, Neil might have just died in a fire. Even his poster where he's driving on the motorcycle seems to have an explosion in the background. So Neil is just a mystery. It's going to be interesting to see where his story goes and what happens with him. Now, we do have a new patch, I think, on Sam's backpack. I wonder if I can get that into focus. Something we never did see up close was the Hideo Kojima patch. We've only been able to see it once, and it was in a super, super tiny clip, and it was super blurred out. This might be the Koji Pro patch. It's kind of hard to tell. It almost looks like a person. But yeah, if you guys have seen which patch that is, I'd love to know. I was looking up at this sign, and at first I thought that was the drawbridge logo. And I was about to be like, what in the world? But I don't think it is. So we're going to zoom back out. He does talk about, to the right over here, that there is a way that you can actually just avoid this battle by using stealth and going this direction. And I think that's totally, a valid way to go through this fight. The only thing is he's giving me FOMO, a fear of missing out, because we have heard that there are missable cutscenes. So I would hate to use stealth and miss out on a cutscene or something that might give me like valuable information. Yeah, I really can't tell. It might be. It almost kind of looks like a Luden's helmet. It's really hard for me to tell what that patch is. Now, something I did notice in this footage is his like stamina and blood levels. So he's getting a blood transfusion initiated. This is what happens when you have the high capacity blood bags, and you sort of basically get this additional blood. What would you even call that? Blood meter. It goes kind of beyond your actual blood bar. So it looks like we still have some of those, either from the doctor from the last game, or they've just kind of made that some gear that you can just fabricate anywhere. I'm sure the drawbridge has lots of cool things that we can get. Now, some of the gameplay footage previewers, I want to say it was kind of funny that I heard it in, because it was the one that gave the most information. I'm pretty sure they said this was like episode 6, and that was kind of the final episode they got to play. Now, obviously, I'm not looking for spoilers or leaks. If you are one of the people on Reddit with the chapter spoilers, I will kill you. Do not post them. I don't want to be spoiled. Obviously, if someone is posting stuff like that, I'm just going to block you from the channel. Please don't ruin it for anybody like that. But working with what we can see, there's a sign over here to the left. I can kind of see some words, but I couldn't really see. I just see like SKO, I think. It's something I can see over here. Can't really make out anything on any of the buildings, anything like that. There's nothing really sticking out to me. But then these guys jump over the cart, and we meet these military guys for the first time.
But anyways. And you see the warriors, we call it.
That's so funny to me that they show up on motorcycles. But that makes sense with the poster we have of Neil, and he's on a motorcycle. So these are almost like a gang of bikers. Kind of like, I'm getting guerrilla warfare vibes from them more than I am getting like military. So that's just I thought that was fun. And I do wonder now if the clips that we've seen of Neil with the fire behind him and the poster are just him in this area. At first, I would say no because their outfits are different, but what we'll see at the end of this boss battle is that his clothing actually goes back to normal, his normal civilian outfit, and he loses the military garb or the kind of the guerrilla outfit, basically. Um, but whatever. So it's gonna be fun, gonna be cool. Let's look at some more.
Who is guarding Neil comes out. So you could go to the right and sneak, but you won't battle. So this time, I know everyone wants to see battle, right?
Let's look at these weapons. We get kind of a preview of the weapons. This first one, so he opens it up, we see the tar cannon. We've heard a little bit about this one. It says that it extinguishes fires by dousing dousing, let's see if I can see what that other word is, dousing them with a jet of decontaminated tar. So that's interesting that it's decontaminated. That makes me wonder about tomorrow and how the tar from her lands on Fragile's hand, and she ages rapidly. So if this is decontaminated, first of all, how do you decontaminate it? What are they taking out of it that is no longer contaminated? I thought that was kind of a neat little factoid that is just like in the description that maybe you wouldn't catch initially. It does say that it can be fixed to the ground and replenish its tar supply. That makes me think that it's pulling from the tar current somehow if you put it on the ground. And I thought this was funny. It says, be warned though that if you expel tar, it can have a restorative effect on catchers. So you wouldn't want to use this weapon on the big catchers that come out of the ground because it will actually just power them up, which solidifies a theory that we had when we looked at the big monsters that appear to be sucking tar into their mouth. And I had theorized that they were healing themselves. I think that is accurate. And it's probably why the big titans and Magellan type men have umbilical cords. If you're linked into the tar currents, then you're just being healed constantly. So that's neat. That's lore we didn't have before.
I know everyone wants to see battle.
So that's just it kind of finishing its little animation. And we can actually see quite a bit of the menu now. I'm seeing cryptobites, I'm seeing stamina, water. Not totally sure what this is, probably blood bags. We can see there's a drawbridge menu, so there is Dolman. I'm curious what we'll be having other options here. It does look like there's space for 2 other options, and I am of the mind that I think we'll have Tomorrow and Higgs fighting with us at some point. So that would be really cool if they were under like the drawbridge menu as someone that you could activate or, I don't know, talk to, I guess. We also have kind of the strand menu over here, but it also looks like maybe the linking menu. We have the weapons menu or grenade menu, which seems to be where we get the boomerang from. And then we have a solely guns menu and then a solely tools menu. So lots of new stuff in the menu.
Right? So we're going to go through the middle this time. And since this is
So here's the blood boomerang. We see it says a thrown weapon loaded with Sam's blood that's especially effective against BTs. The more blood loaded, the greater the damage inflicted, but don't overdo it. It can't be thrown if your blood levels are too low. Hits to the head do additional damage and can be stowed in a dedicated holster suited for covert operations. So that is fun. I just think all of this is neat. I do wonder what this triangle means down here. Not totally sure if that means like, you can't use it against certain humans. I don't know.
Australia, I'm going to use a blood boomerang, right?
We get the little menu here that kind of shows us what the blood boomerang says. We have R2 for throw, R2 for feel, like holding it down. So very familiar to us, just like the grenades were. And it looks like that's probably a good reason to have that high capacity blood bag, is to make it easier to use the boomerang without killing yourself. It does appear that they will wait for us. They're not going to attack us first, so that's nice.
So, okay, it's a little hard to see, but I think he's aiming. I think he won't make a mistake here. Yeah, good hit.
Now here's something. I do wonder, will you have to tap a button to catch the boomerang when it comes back?
Yeah.
So here it comes back. I'm just kind of looking. It doesn't appear that there was any menu button that popped up to catch it. Yeah, I'm not seeing any menu button, which is great because I don't know that I would be able to catch it.
Yeah, good hit.
Very cool. Oh, how weird you could still see its trail where it had been thrown. Yeah, right there you can see the trail of the blood in the air. That's kind of funny.
The boomerang comes back. But if you're not good at battling, you could actually sneak away as well. You could always have that option. Oh. All right, the boomerang came back.
It's interesting that they don't appear to actually like encroach upon you. I'm assuming because we haven't shot, maybe they don't have great view. Maybe they can't see very well, or maybe they're not aggressive unless attacked, because we're definitely not seeing them come at us in any way. They're not locking onto us and then, you know, running at us. They're basically waiting for him to hit them with the boomerang as long as he's staying sort of away from them.
All right, we got. All right, the fire is starting to spread.
It does appear that we can get their rifles. This is Warrior Assault Rifle. I don't know if that will have any different bullets or different powers or, you know, be more capable. In fact, I didn't even know you could get Cairo bullets in Death Stranding 1 until I was watching a world record delivery and someone had commented about Cairo bullets. I didn't even know that was a thing. So it's always funny that the stuff that you learn just from watching other people's videos.
Yes, all these things flying around. So we use something called the tar cannon. It's a little heavy equipment, but you could distinguish the fire. You could even put out forest fires with this, but it's very heavy, so you have to, you know, think about when you're carrying this.
So he says it's very heavy. Obviously, this isn't going to be a quick battle option, but he does mention you can use it to put out forest fires, which I feel like it's a hint for those of us who will be playing this soon that this will be utilized in more than one way. And it's good to know that we will have something to fight the forest fires. Of course, I'm still curious about when we will get this weapon and how we're using it, and is this going to be something that Tomorrow helps us get since she's kind of the tar person, or will this just come from something that Tarman already knows about because he's obviously been a part of the currents and been riding on them longer than we have? We do see sort of a store sign over here, but unfortunately, with the way that this is set up, it's hard to see what the words are over here. It looks like Pharmacia? Pharmacia. So that's like a pharmacy over there.
And you could, you know, oh, they find you now. The warriors found you. But this tar cannon is actually usable as a weapon, so you could shoot the warriors too. Yep, we got him. All right, we're gonna take out the fire. Well, of course, you could take any route, but let's go through the middle.
Now he says you could take any route, but we're going to go through the middle, which makes me wonder, are these buildings going to be something that we can actually go inside? We do see a couple stairs like up on the side over here and possibly an entrance. I'm not actually seeing any ladders or anything.
Low. Yep, watch out.
Whoa.
Okay, from here it takes a little while, so I'm gonna skip.
Okay, so I am thinking there is a large amount probably available to us. And what's weird is he says it takes a while, but then in the background, I just noticed that I see some more soldiers over here. So we may, oh, those are little skulls. I see that now. Um, we may actually encounter quite a few soldiers on our way. There may be many checkpoints. It even looks like up here I can see a soldier hiding in the tops up here. The more that I look at this area, the more I do think that this might be what we see in the clip with Neil when he looks out and sees a little bit of fire that we saw in kind of one of the original trailers, and you can see these little signs in the background. Not totally sure, but it sure does seem similar. The other part is behind us, they kind of turn away from it, so we really don't see it. Which that's crazy, that thing. But I mean, he's definitely in play here. So I think if you weren't quick to react, I think you could get hurt. I think you could probably get injured. I was kind of looking over here to the right and wondering if there would be anything over there that we could access, but it really acts like it wants you to go the other way. But I'm always curious, you know, what way can we go? You know, I don't always want to go the way that the game wants us to, just because I feel like you miss out on scenes and textures and maybe like little Easter eggs that you normally wouldn't see. But we're seeing an awesome amount of architecture here. But anyway, he pauses it and he says, we're going to skip to the next scene. And basically, I'm assuming maybe there's like 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay in here. And then we get to the actual graveyard scene with Neil. So he pauses. He's obviously playing on a PlayStation. And then it cuts back to them while he gets his gameplay ready. Just incredible, though. I mean, everything has been really neat. I'm pretty excited. Also, I want this jacket so bad. I love all the patches. So let's skip ahead. So this is the part where it looks like we have kind of gotten through the original portion and we've made our way, I would assume, to the center of the city. And we look pretty good for making our way through that entire battle. Now, we can see a little bit on him. We can see a couple weapons, but nothing necessarily like out of the ordinary. We see the sea angel on his pod. We see his rifle. He's got a couple things on his back, but I'm assuming those are probably, you know, utility pouches, rifles, things like that.
Wear it. Norman does this. So you could kind of wear it reverse. Great improvement. Also the backpack. You see the back plate, which protects you, or
I love the hat. I think that's one of the best things that he's put in the game. We can also now see that patch much better. It is the Kojima Productions patch. Now he's talking about there is a back plate on this that protects you. That's an interesting thing. I don't know if they have that in the first game. Obviously, if they do, I haven't got there yet.
the rotor storage and grenade pouch, and also chiral anti-gravity device. I always put that 3 so that, you know, helps my, you know, I could put a lot of weight on my backpack. But okay, this is the, of course you could change the colors too. But so this is the equipment this time. We have a lot of things on our back. Let's battle Neil.
So here's that opening scene that we got to see in the trailers. Now that we know that this is the scene right after we arrive, I'm curious, does the watch stop because we have arrived? Are we throwing off the balance? Are we the reason that the time is kind of sticking for him? It could definitely represent the fact that he's struggling to keep up with memories or keep up with time, or just represent the fact that things are deteriorating, something's not quite right. But it would be neat if it's because of us. We're arriving, we're throwing things off. We get the classic solid snake or big boss or whatever it is skull that everyone's excited about. I want to talk about this imagery. We've already broken this down in a different video, but I just wanted to add that obviously he puts the scarf on his head. I think that scarf is going to represent something. He's going to be given this scarf by someone. I think it will be a totem of sorts. But I think it's interesting that the skeletons have this similar like motif or imagery around their necks, and when he puts it on his head, theirs lights up and kind of burns. Um, in the other game with Cliff, his had like umbilical cords, but whenever he came to life or whatever, they disconnected from his soldiers and kind of burnt up and went back inside of him. These guys are not bonded to Neil by umbilical cords or anything like that. They, seem to be kind of brothers in arms, as you might say. And the other thing is, they are all skeleton, whereas he is flesh. Of course, we have the skeleton kind of show up over his face, but I just felt like pointing out that they have kind of a similar motif to Fragile. And I know I don't think Fragile's a villain at all, but it is kind of weird that they all have these things around their necks, almost like a collar or something. So I'm just like, who is in charge? Who has them on a leash, I guess, is kind of the imagery it gives me. I feel like they are following orders from someone. We also get, just kind of a better look, a more realistic look at the graveyard. It was kind of hard to see in the trailer. Everything looks mostly the same. I don't see anything super different from the trailer that we got. The statues look the same. The same bell is burning. So we're going to watch this go. And what's crazy is that it just basically goes into the next gameplay, and you almost can't tell a difference.